Hello everyone, welcome to a Valentine's Day special edition of the Four Lads Gersnet Podcast. My name is Stephen Clifford, I'm your host for tonight, and this is a bit of an unprompted one. We decided just with the news from the club tonight about Elite and things from the press conference today that we'd have a wee quick chat. It isn't going to be normal hour-long podcast, we'll maybe aim for 15-20 minutes and we'll see how we get on. Joining me as well as usual tonight is co-host of the Four Lads of Dream podcast, good friend, chief sports writer at the Glasgow Times, Mr. Chris Jack. Chris, how are you tonight?
Hi, Stevie. All good, thanks. Thanks for having us on once again.
No, it's always a pleasure, mate. It's always a pleasure. I wish we had more happy things to talk about, but I suppose the best place to start is today's statement that Rangers put out at 4 o'clock. We'll just read it through to you. I'm sure everyone's seen it, but it states the Rangers Football Club Limited have served proceedings on LBG Sports Apparel Limited trading as Elite for payment of the sum of 2.8 million plus interest and expenses. The payment relates to sums that require to be paid to Rangers by Elite in terms of the agreement between Rangers, Elite and Hummel for the manufacture and supply of Rangers kit and other products. Statement ends at that. This isn't good news. Around about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got news on the back of Rangers' victory in court to remove the injunction, and it was difficult to put into words and relay that message to people. It's very important that people realise that if I've got something to put out or I've got something to say, I don't do it lightly. I try not to fling about rumours, and I try to give out the best information I can available. And sometimes I can't put out everything because legally my name obviously is out there and what I say could get me into trouble. But the court case a couple of weeks ago was obviously a victory over Sports Direct in terms of lifting that injunction so that we could then pursue Elite to pay us the money that we have been trying to recover this season. I said on that tweet, I said that the victory was more like a victory over Elite, and that will now allow us to sue Elite to recover that money. That was something a lot of people disagreed with, and obviously there was a suggestion that Elite couldn't pay because of this injunction and things like that. So we're going to stick to facts just for 1 minute before we talk about anything else, or before I talk about this. This is something I'm going to talk about. We're not going to bring in Chris because Chris in his job and what he does, it's maybe unfair to involve Chris in this. So just bear with me for a second. What we know as fact is that Elite are Rangers retail partners. So this doesn't involve anything to do with Hummel. There's no suggestion that there's a problem with Hummel. There's no suggestion that there's anything wrong there. This is Elite. They are in charge of our distribution and things like that. What basically has happened is they're due to pay Rangers a percentage of every sale and things that they do, which normally for around a season works out £3.5 million, depending on how much we sell and things like that. That has been withheld. Rangers have been trying to get that for the duration of the last 6, 7, 8 months. There's been arguments, refusals back and forward and things, which then led to Rangers going to get the injunction removed, which they did. And that should have enabled Elite just to pay the money that was owed. Rangers' statement at the time was not clear, but it wasn't a positive one in terms of they said that they hope that Elite would now pay Rangers money owed. There's been a bit of a silence. There's been some things rumoured and things said, which we'll come to in a wee minute. But that was broken today at 4 o'clock by Rangers' statement. And where we are with that, we now know that when you're buying anything from Elite, they should then distribute and the money should come to Rangers. That's not happening. Rangers have then tried to pursue this. They've had the injunction removed and it's still not happening. So Rangers have been forced now to take steps to go to court to try and get this money to us. It's all extremely disappointing for every Rangers fan, no more so than a lot of us that have bought merchandise, and we just want an end to this. I think that people are sick of boycotts, people are sick of Sports Direct, people are sick of this whole thing. I know I, for one, am. It's not something I like discussing because obviously it's a bit of a legal minefield. But the facts are now that we've if you're shopping with Elite, the club aren't getting the money. It's up to people to decide what they're doing. I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that we should boycott Elite. People are big enough to make their own decisions with this. My own viewpoint is the club aren't getting any money. So until that is rectified, I won't be purchasing anything from Elite. That's my own personal viewpoint. I need to know that the money's going to the club. So what we ideally want to happen is that in the next weeks, months, it doesn't need to go to court, that Elite and Rangers manage to settle out of court and we can get on and we can have that working relationship. Whether that's capable now or not is something we'll need to see. Rumour-wise, there's a lot more to this in terms of depending on what you believe and who you want to listen to. There's suggestions that Elite have completely blanked Rangers in the chase for the money. They've ignored, they've argued. There's a suggestion that Sports Direct are involved in this. And it's all a bit murky. It's all extremely disappointing as well because, as I said before, we all just want an end to this. This is something that the club need to be clear with it. The club need to be, obviously, once this dispute reaches court, or hopefully it doesn't, hopefully it gets resolved, but the club need to come out and say where we're going in the future with merchandising and where exactly we stand with it. All we know at the moment is exactly what I've said before. The club are now in dispute with Elite. That's now going to go to court. Elite haven't paid us that money they're legally due to do so. Any money that we're giving Elite isn't getting to Rangers. All we can hope for, folks, is a resolution. I sincerely hope that the stories that Elite are no longer favourable with Rangers, are working with people that don't favour Rangers, are not true. Can only hope that it doesn't get to court because we're sick of the court appearances as well. This is something that does nobody any good. So going forward, I would hope that the club are able to come to a resolution and we can have a working relationship with Elite going forward. That, however, doesn't look likely at the moment. Going on from this, it really is now a case of waiting and seeing in terms of the next move need to come from the club. Hopefully we'll hear from them very soon with regards to what happens with court cases and with regards to what happens in the future with our relationship with Elite. Hopefully it's good news. That's all we really need to do. So I appreciate there's maybe some people coming on tonight and they'll be looking for me to say and use words like boycott and things like that. And there aren't words that I can use. Legally, I can't put myself in a position to call for a boycott and things like that. And I certainly can't make accusations of Elite being in conjunction with Sports Direct. That's not what I'm doing. People are big enough to research it. Go and have a look at Elite and find out the staff members and where they've worked from and where they come from and things like that. All the information is freely available. Hopefully, as I said, there's a solution and a resolution going forward because nobody wants this ongoing for the club, certainly not. So with that, I think we've said all really can on this information. I would also hope that people realise that when stuff goes out on the blog, that I would never do it easily. It's always considered, and it's always done for a purpose. It's all about Rangers for me. It always is. 20 odd years as a season ticket holder, it's never nice when you have to bring news that isn't good. Believe me, I'd rather be talking about good results and things like that. So let's move on. Chris, press conference today, press conference this morning. Probably for the first time in Steven Gerrard's reign, he's legitimately now getting criticism. There's obviously a lot of anger There's a lot of disappointment. It's not been over the top. I think it's just people are a bit fed up. It's happened again to us, So there's going to be questions of Steven Gerrard now. What was his attitude today, and what was he like in the press conference?
I think, as always, Stephen was really kind of forthright, and he mentioned that himself, why he always tries to be kind of upfront and honest. He was questioned in the broadcast press conference quite a lot about the criticism that he's made of his players, not just after the defeat at Kilmarnock the other night, but really after every time Rangers have stumbled this season. He's not been slow in coming forward in terms of giving it a wee bit back to the players, but that's always caveated by saying it's his team, it's his tactics, it's him that puts the team on the park. So he always accepts his share of it. But I think that some people might think that the players might start saying, well, he's always coming out, he's always having a go at us. But I think the makeup of that squad and in terms of characters that he's got, I don't think the guys that are in there will mind him being quite as open and honest as he is. It's a bit of tough love at times. I dare say only time will tell if it works. Now, if what he's saying in public and what he's saying behind closed doors gets the desired impact, and Rangers can improve performances and results, then it'll all be worth it, and his message will prove to be right. Again, overall, speaking to the broadcast media and then speaking to the daily newspapers afterwards, I thought he came across really well, as always. There's been very few times that he's not answered every question, that he's not been, open and really honest with us. So I think he handled the whole thing quite well. And as you said, it is probably the first time that he's had a kind of steady stream of negatives to answer, but he had a good answer for all of them, and covered a range of bases. I'm sure a lot of the fans will have seen the stuff that's come out already. If you wait a couple of hours, you'll see the daily newspaper stuff online as well. So it's certainly worth a read to see how he addressed a manner of issues after what's been a really difficult couple of weeks for him.
Did you sense that there was still a burning desire and kind of defiance in Steven Gerrard? Because there's been a lot going on. It would be easy for him to be fed up. We're in the middle of another racial storm with Alfredo at Kilmarnock. That's now a live police investigation. We've had one at New Year. There's been statements ongoing. Surely at some point he would get fed up, because he doesn't need this. Let's be honest about this. Steven Gerrard could go down south and get a job, no problem. Is there any sense from you that he's not as defiant, and he's not as trying to think of a word, not as
not as committed to it.
Committed for Rangers, going forward and things like that. Is there any sense that that's wilting at all?
I think if he does have any doubts, and he is starting to think, why am I here? He's very good at hiding it, and I don't think that is the case. Now, Stephen made the move into management to be as successful a boss as he was a player. If he didn't feel that Rangers was the right place for him, he wouldn't have come up here in the first place. If he didn't feel that Rangers was the right place for him to be now, so there's nothing to keep him here. There's no emotional attachment to the club. There's no emotional attachment to Glasgow. He doesn't need the money, so he's not in it for that reason. He is at Rangers. He is Rangers manager because he wants to be a success. I think if you look at the progress that he's made over these 20 months or so, whatever it's been, maybe a bit longer than that, it's hard to say that Rangers aren't on the right track, that Rangers haven't made considerable progress under him. Whether that progress is enough to satisfy some of the fans, who knows? Whether that progress is actually enough as it is now to satisfy him, only Stephen could answer that. But if he's got any doubts, he's doing very well to hide them. He was really passionate in his press conference today. He's reaffirmed his commitment. He reaffirmed why he's here, what he wants to achieve here. As a nice quote that most of the papers will lead on tomorrow. Basically, reaffirming that commitment to Rangers, to this project, if you like, that he's taken on. And he seems as determined as ever to deliver the success that he thinks can be achieved here.
That's always positive. I've got to be honest, I can understand the criticism, but I certainly don't agree with it. I think when we look back to where we were when he came in and where we are now, there has been massive strides. And I read stuff today It was on Twitter, I seen it being mentioned that our points tally would actually have been higher for some of the league title wins. So it just shows us of where we are progression-wise. So for me, he is getting it right, but he's also repeating some things and substitutes, and there's things that he needs to pick up. So Steven Gerrard, he certainly isn't immune to criticism for me, but I still think he's the man to turn it around. But it's going to be interesting, Chris. Do you think it's fair to say that over the next coming months we're going to learn a lot certainly for this Rangers team in terms of individuals? Because I think that Steven Gerrard's obviously put a lot of trust in certain individuals, and it maybe isn't unfair. And even James Tavernier as captain, he's come out, he's quoted in the papers as saying as we're letting the boss down. Is the degree of these players are now playing for their futures, especially with the Scottish Cup? How vital does this become now?
I think the next few weeks they're also really important for the manager in terms of his future as well. But I think for a number of the players, the jury is still out on a number of them. You look at the players that Steven has brought in, how many would you class as huge successes? Now, there's a number of guys that, yes, they've done well. Yes, they've made the squad better, made the team better. But if Rangers go back into the market, how many guys in that squad couldn't be replaced? Apart from Alfredo Morelos, how many guys do you say it would cost millions and millions to go and play somebody? So, and I think Steven's shown that, well, he is loyal to his players, or he'll back his players, and he'll do everything he can to make them better. If you're not doing the job on a consistent basis, and he feels you're not with him, and you're not part of his journey, as he called it the other day when he was speaking about Ryan Jack. If he feels you're not with him and you're not in it for the right reasons, you won't be in the team and you won't be at Rangers for very long. When he was speaking about Ryan Jack to us the other day there, he called him a winner, not because of what Jack's actually achieved in his career, but because he's got that work ethic, that mentality, those standards. He epitomises what Steven Gerrard is looking for in a Rangers player. And whether there's enough guys like that in the squad or not, I think you've maybe seen doubts about that over the last couple of weeks in terms of some of the results and the performances. And over the next couple of months, no matter how the season finishes for Rangers, whether they win the league or they win the Scottish Cup or they progress in Europe, it's a big few months for a lot of the players, because if the manager gets to the end of the season and feels that they're not with them to then take that next step and go again next season, so I don't think they'll be there for very much longer.
I think it's probably worth saying as well that no matter how bad it gets towards the end of the season, Steven Gerrard's here for next season. He's just signed a new deal. He's not going anywhere. I would imagine that unless he walked away himself, there's no suggestion that as a board or anything else that we've made any demands of him to deliver immediately. He does have another crack at it next season, at which point we'll then look at it. Is that a fair kind of summation of everything?
I would think so. I think the only way that Steven Gerrard isn't Rangers manager come the start of next season is if he decides he doesn't want to be Rangers manager anymore. Now, the board they've invested a lot in him, him and his staff. The whole infrastructure around the first team is now Steven Gerrard's infrastructure, and that's part of the improvements that he's made. Now, you go at the training ground and everything that he's done there, the work that's been done at Ibrox. Rangers is now very much got Steven Gerrard's stamp on it, and I'd find it incredible if he's not the manager next season, unless he decides, look, I've had 2 cracks at it, this isn't for me. But I say, having spoken to him in almost every press conference that he's done this season, seen every game that they've played this season, I don't get the impression that Steven's the type of guy just to chuck it when the going gets a wee bit tough. Now, he's here, he knows why he's here, he knows what he wants to achieve here, and he won't be satisfied until he's completed the job that he came in to take up.
With that said, you touched a wee bit on Ryan Jack. Ryan Jack was obviously in the press conference today. What was the mood amongst Ryan Jack? It's obvious to think that the players would be down, because let's be honest here, we were sitting in January, we spoke mid-January, we were 6 months of hard work, we were sitting pretty, and it's all went to pot within 3 weeks. It's certainly not over. I'm never ever one to chuck in the towel, but we need to be honest and say it's pretty much a mega uphill climb now, and it's really a case of taking a game at a time and seeing where it goes. What was it? The mood from Ryan Jack today is is he one that we would really look to rather to bring us out of this slump?
I think he's certainly one of the key figures, not just on the park, but off the park as well. The newspaper guy spoke to him a wee bit about how the players have reacted after Wednesday night, and him taking a role in the kind of post-mortem, I feel like. And I think if you look at the type of guys in the squad, there's naturally some that are a bit more shy, if you like, a bit more reserved. I don't think Ryan Jack is one of those types. If there's something to be said, he's the type of guy that's going to say it. He might not be that flashy in front of the cameras, and Rangers obviously put him up today for a reason, because he's sensible and he's a good operator with the press. He's not going to say anything daft. So it wasn't a massive surprise that it was him that was put up to sit beside the manager today. But I think he struck the right tone. The players know that they've let the manager down. James Tavernier admitted that after the game on Wednesday night. But the players also know they've let themselves down. They put so much into the first half of the season, after coming back in pre-season, going through Europa League qualifiers, getting into the groups, getting out the group, getting to the cup final and just falling short. And then obviously the Old Firm win at Parkhead should have been like a springboard for them. So they know what they've put in so far, and there will be a real determination there to make sure that it doesn't all go to waste, despite how the last couple of weeks are going. So you can pick holes in why things have gone wrong for Rangers, but I don't think a lack of effort, a lack of desire, a lack of heart, I don't think that can be levelled at this team. Maybe something that's been levelled at previous Rangers teams over the last few years, and the guys didn't care and their hearts weren't really in it. I don't think that's something that you can say for the majority of this squad. They want to bring success back to Rangers, but they've also got big questions to answer and big points to prove over the next few weeks to see if that can actually come to pass or not.
So, Chris, just as we kind of wrap up this wee mini pod and kind of last wee bit on tomorrow, is there any indication of major changes? I don't think that anybody would be against 3-4 changes. I think there is a few that have perhaps been, a few that look a wee bit like rabbit in the headlight, caught maybe from earlier season form. And I don't like naming players, but there is players that could certainly be doing better. I'm not supposing that Steven Gerrard sat and told you, yeah, it's going to be 4-4-2 or we're going to change this, that, or whatever. But do you see, or do you think there's going to be 3-4 changes, maybe the likes of Greg Stewart getting a good crack at it? Do you see anything possibly in that kind of mode for tomorrow?
In terms of the squad that Stephen's got to choose from, it's the same as midweek. So I mean, there's no Borna Barisic once again tomorrow, which is a bit of a blow considering how important he's been to the team this season. In terms of incomings and outgoings, I'm not sure we'll see anything that radical. You might get a couple. I would expect Steve Davis to come back into the midfield. So that probably means that Scott Arfield drops out. Stephen was asked earlier on, both by the broadcast guys and ourselves, about the tactical side of it, and in terms of things that he could do, and looking at how Celtic have changed their system a wee bit since they come back from Dubai. And I think now that Haji's in the squad, it does give Stephen that option. He's obviously moved to more of a 4-2-3 in behind Alfredo over the last couple of weeks, rather than like a 4-3 and then two wide. I don't think he'll venture that different from that against Livy. He doesn't strike me a type of guy that just because things have gone a wee bit awry, he's going to go back to the drawing board and rip it all up and start again. I would like to see Rangers maybe try with a bit more width, whether that's Jordan Jones or something coming in wide rather than Joe Aribo, just to give Rangers a bit more width, especially if Barisic isn't there. So if you can try and get somebody a bit wider on the right-hand side rather than Aribo, and maybe then try and encourage Ryan Kent to play a bit wider as well. I think Rangers are far too narrow and a bit one-dimensional at times over the last couple of weeks. And Stephen's mentioned quite a few times they've lacked a bit of spark in the final third. So you might see some tweaking at the top end of the park. I would expect the back four to probably remain the same, and he'll certainly be looking for a clean sheet tomorrow as well. Now there are all the issues that Rangers have had going forward. They've conceded too many goals over the last a couple of weeks now. If you go to Tynecastle and you have to score 3 to win the game, you're making it tricky for yourself. If you go to Rugby Park and you have to score 3 to win the game, you're making it tricky for yourself. So issues at both ends of the park, and everybody at Rangers is fully aware of how important the game tomorrow is to try and get back on track, because they really can't afford any stumbles now, or it really is game over for them.
On that note, Chris, thanks as ever for joining us. As I said, it was a bit of a impromptu decision to do this, but it's always great to have you on, always great to have you chat. And Chris is back as well. Chris, we are interviewing Dean Shields on Monday night for the next Four Lads of the Dream podcast with our ex-players. We do one every month. We're also sitting down again with Alex McLeish to re-record and add some bits that Alex wanted to add. So that's been the only delay in that. Alex has been fantastic with us. I know, Chris, you really like Alex. You spoke highly, but it's not unfair to say he's really went out of his way to help us.
No, it's been great. Really good to deal with, as expected. A gentleman.
Yeah, we look forward to recording, as I said, the wee final bit, and then I think that'll be one to definitely that everyone will enjoy and look forward to. That'll be a few parts. We'll split that up for you all to enjoy. But apart from that, let's hope that the team can get back on track and get a good result starting for tomorrow, and then we can have a go at Braga on Thursday. They're certainly a good side. And listen, it's been pretty poor recently. It's been tough, and I'm not giving up anything. I don't think anybody else should either. You never know what can happen on a football pitch, and things can change so quickly. Seems unlikely, but we've just got to keep going. So with that said, it's Chris, thanks for joining us tonight, mate. Much appreciated.
No problem at all.
And thanks to everybody for joining us as well. Thanks also to Stuart and the guys at Gersnet. They're always accommodating and willing to get a podcast sorted for us and set up things and everything else. You get yourself onto the Gersnet website and have a look. And also, folks, as well, as we've been saying recently, there's so much agenda and things on the mainstream media. The only people that I would say to you to go and read is Chris, obviously, in the Glasgow Times. Chris is one that we can trust, and we know that he's got Rangers at heart. You've got guys like Andy Newport and PA as well, which you can go and read. See a side of that. Don't buy, don't click, don't share it, because these people genuinely feed off of clicks and they feed off of hatred for us as well. Also, before we end this as well, also news tonight that Jim Traynor was involved in an incident at the start of the week in terms of being attacked. We don't know exactly what's happened there. I know that Chris seen Jim today at the press conference. We know that he was fine. So just as basically common decency, I mean, it's never nice to see anything like this. So we wish Jim well, and we hope that he's better soon. On that note, folks, we'll leave you. I hope you all have a good weekend. I hope for a better result for the team tomorrow, and let's hope we can get back on track. As ever, thanks for joining us. Ignore the nonsense, the irrelevant, and the noise. Thank you.